Hi, everyone. Okay. This may have been potentially the best episode of Survivor ever. I mean, I did not see any of that coming at the end. I was definitely beside myself at Tribal Council. It was just one thing after the other. I thought Malcolm was just done. I thought he was done. I thought the only way he could save himself was to play his idol. And then he played Brent. I mean, you all saw how it went down. I was just really beside myself. But anyway, let's start from the beginning and really go through this episode and try and figure out everything that went down. So the reward challenge. Malcolm uses the opportunity of his loss to warm up to Sherry and try and work her and work Dawn. Now, that was a huge mistake, obviously, as we all knew as viewers, because we know that Dawn was behind the Corinne blind side, and somehow Malcolm was totally oblivious to that. And Dawn had it right when she said that it shows that he was just, not there. That is obviously a massive problem, and I still can't quite wrap my head around the fact that Malcolm missed that or didn't ask himself why Corinne was blindsided. Although I guess it was easy enough to think that it was because of Philip because they really didn't get along, but still. Dawn is playing really hard and really well. At least she has been this episode and last episode, and she seemed I was really impressed with her. She seemed really on top of it, and I hate to see that she might be breaking down next episode. I don't want to go there right now, but it's just, it would suck because she's playing so well right now. But seriously, Malcolm, I don't understand why he's not talking to Brenda. Why is nobody talking to Brenda? Is Brenda being too silent? I mean, in her exit interview, Corinne said that Brenda just wouldn't talk to anybody, that she seemed sad, like she missed her boyfriend. Brenda doesn't look like she's missing anybody right now. She looks like she's having a party. I mean, she's so excited at the challenges. She does really well. I just, maybe that's her strategy. Maybe she's just being so silent that people aren't looking at her, and then she could actually be a physical threat in terms of winning and endurance and in those immunity challenges. So she might make it through that way. I mean, it's not my favorite kind of strategy, but it could work, especially when people saw how much of a strategist she was in her original season. So we'll see where that goes. But yeah, then there's the Andrea Eddie component. They're having some kind of thing. I'm not saying they're in love with each other or whatever, but they definitely have some kind of rapport that mixed things up this episode, because that conversation they had was epic. I mean, they still stuck to their sides. They wouldn't divulge too much information, but they said enough that Andrea started freaking out about her being voted out, and Eddie almost said that they had an idol, but they didn't quite say it. So it was great to see them sticking to their sides, but also triggered a lot of what happened next, because if that hadn't happened, well, then again, if that hadn't happened, maybe the speech of tribal wouldn't have happened, which wouldn't have triggered Malcolm to think that they had voted for him, which wouldn't have made him ask Reynold for the idol, which then would have still, been pretty bad for Malcolm, because then he would have been voted out. But, it's just so, everything happened so, in this, perfect order somehow. I was pretty annoyed to see how Andrea was on one hand so strategic and really playing hard at first, and then as soon as her name was on the chopping block, all of a sudden she's freaking out and she's safe vote, safe vote. I really didn't think they were gonna go for Malcolm, for Michael. I really didn't think they were gonna go with the safe vote, which is why I was so shocked by the end of it. I think ultimately it was lucky that they went for Michael for the favorites, or the Stealth RS or whatever. It was lucky because had they gone for Malcolm, which I think was their original intent and what they considered the better move, Andrew would have been voted out. Malcolm's alliance would have been in a really good position, and unfortunately that didn't happen. Now, there is the question of was the speech that Philip gave intentional to make Malcolm feel uncomfortable? But they didn't really think that Malcolm had the idol. They knew Reynold did, so I don't think it was intentional. I doubt it very much. I think Malcolm thinking on his feet shows how great of a player he is. He's really not in a good position, but I thought he was done for this episode, and yet he still lives to see another day, and he could take it home just by winning immunity right now. Obviously, it's a risk, but great move, thinking on his feet. Did not vote for Andrea because he knew he probably didn't have the numbers, so went with the Reynold vote, which, I mean, I don't think it's gonna help him much in terms of getting back in the in the favorites, favor. But he went with what the favorites originally said they were going to do, except obviously Dawn and Sherry know that that's not what his intent was, and they brought that back to the favorites. So that kind of breaks down that argument if that's what he was going to try and do next episode. But still, that was a good move. And then not playing his idol, getting Reynolds to give him his idol. I mean, oh my gosh, that was amazing. Thank God Reynolds didn't get voted out, because that would have really sucked. But that was he thought of all of this, like, within the time frame of Tribal. Like, that's nuts. Like, you've got to give him kudos. At first, I was like, why is he even eligible for Player of the Week? Or why is he even an option right now? And then by the end of the episode, like, that totally made sense. But yeah, ultimately, they're still at a disadvantage. I think that all of that happening made it almost so shocking that Michael was the ultimate final vote that I almost like didn't realize it had happened. But yeah, it was really crazy. Now, the big question is what's next. I think Malcolm's alliance is definitely not boding well. I think if anything, Malcolm could take it to the end by winning immunity after immunity and like securing that, but I think it would be difficult. I think now the favorites know that he's working around something and that he's not as stupid as they thought. He's much smarter than they thought even. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. I really don't know what to predict at this point. I can just say, like, what a great episode. And, like, if this is what's next, then I can forgive the first half of the season. Let me know your thoughts, guys, in the comments. I will answer. Bye.